Velma is a beautiful work of art, and I'm glad it came out. I am 100% serious, and I swear I'm going somewhere sane with this. Hear me out. If you're watching this, chances are you already know about Mindy Kaling's Scooby-Doo spin-off, Velma. You also know about the backlash surrounding the show, because I'm not the first one to talk about this, or the second one, or the third one, or the fourth, or the fifth, or the sixth, or the... Jesus Christ, there are a lot of these. But I want to bring something new to the table, because this show did something to me. How I feel about the show will come up later in the video, but what's important right now is that when I finished it, I couldn't get it out of my head. Something about it bothered me. It felt different to your average lazy, out-of-touch dumpster fire reboot. For weeks, the show drove me insane. I kept trying to figure out why Velma exists, why I had this gnawing feeling that it was somehow different. So I went digging. I've watched the show over 4 times at this point. I've watched every mind-numbing "Why Velma Sucks" video that I could find, and I've read every positive review that anyone's ever written about this show. And what I discovered was so much worse than I ever could have expected. I didn't really plan on making a video about this. I just looked into Velma to satisfy my own curiosity. But what I found was so insane that I felt I had to share it. So before season 2 comes out, I want to ask you to join me, because I think I solved Velma, once and for all.
I'm weird and no one likes me.
That's true.
Before I get into the main question, I have to get everyone on the same page and ask, why is Velma so hated? I'm not going to spend too long talking about this because A, it's really obvious, and B, God knows I'm not the first one. If you want to watch a video breaking down every bad part of Velma episode by episode, watch any of the ones on screen. But to summarize, Velma is not funny.
On TV shows, the malt shop owner is always a friendly black man or a spicy and meatball Italian.
It's crude, it's gross, every semi-likable character gets dragged through the mud, the pacing is so fast that it's genuinely hard to understand what's happening in the show's plot, and Velma is probably the most insufferable main character to ever exist. Oh, and it dances on the corpse of Scooby-Doo as a franchise. Like, it really, really hates Scooby-Doo.
What are we selling?
Oh, just the usual. Zoinks, Jeepers, Mystery Machine, and of course, ganja.
But this show accomplished something that not a lot of shows can. It pissed off everyone. Republicans to Democrats to adults to teens to kids. The number one question people have when they watch Velma is, who is this for? And honestly, in my research, that was the easiest question to answer by far. A much harder question to answer, and the question that's been plaguing me ever since I finished this show back in February is, why? Why is this show the way it is? How did it go through planning, production, writing, scripting, and still end up like this? Everyone's had a lot of theories about why Velma is the way it is, and they've slowly evolved over time. And now that the discussion is slowing down, I've broken down all the theories that I've seen into 5 layers, each one closer to the truth than the last. I'll be running through them, one by one, and we're gonna get to the bottom of this, because I think I've solved Velma, once and for all. Starting with...
I want mommy, I want milk, I want to be held, I want to be comforted.
This is by far the dumbest and least believed theory, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. Velma purposely swapped the characters' races to garner the worst discourse ever, and the people that believe this is why the show is bad just took the bait. Most of these guys didn't even watch the show. They just saw an Indian Velma and cried woke. What's interesting about these people is that they almost know they're doing what Mindy Kaling wants. They know that the show is begging them to post angry tweets and kick up a storm. The trailer was on its knees asking for outrage, and they still do it anyway because they know it'll get them clicks. But whatever, let the machine run, I guess. I swear, sometimes it feels like these videos are AI generated. I will say the fact that they fell for such obvious bait is a shame, because we'll get much more into Mindy Kaling later. She is absolutely trying to use this small minority of people as her scapegoat for why the show is getting so much hate. They don't hate it because it's bad. They hate it because I made Velma an Indian bisexual and they can't handle that. These people are clinging to the Gamergate era of the internet. Nobody that uses woke as a criticism gets taken seriously anymore. The forced diversity argument died out in 2018. Let's keep it there.
Everything's a psyop. Everything's a tool of the ruling elite. Everything's a psyop. So you'll worship at the feet.
This theory is mostly said as a joke, but I'm including it here for the sake of having everything. Basically, the theory is that Velma is a right-wing show pretending to be a progressive leftist one to make all leftist shows look bad. I put this theory after the other one because there's actually a decent amount of stuff in the show that points to this, if we're being honest. Like, there are a shocking amount of out-of-pocket jokes.
Exactly. I spit truth without a filter, like every comedian before #MeToo.
Thank you, but now that the truth is out, Velma and Norval can look after their daughter themselves.
Like hell we can. I mean, of course. How hard can watching it be, right, Norval? Norval?
And the show's general attitude seems to directly contradict its messages all the time. For example, there's an episode where Velma learns that she shouldn't slut-shame the popular girls because their womanhood is just as valid as hers and she has no right to tell them how to dress. But even though the show claims that Velma and the popular girls are equally valid, the show constantly makes derogatory jokes about the hot girl archetype, calling them stupid and sluts and bimbos, everything really. And Velma continues to look down on them well after this episode. Or the part where Velma and Daphne kiss, but Velma is so confused on how she could possibly like Daphne romantically if she also thinks Fred is hot. Man, if only there were a word for something like this. The show has such inconsistent theming, it's honestly easy to say that it's trying to make everyone on the left look bad, just by being so incompetent itself. But really, this theory is just as lazy as the Velma's woke crowd. It's the same thing, just reversed. But this theory was never really discussed seriously. You only saw people saying this when the trailers were out or a little after the first episode dropped. It was when the show kept running and people started to watch a lot of it that they started to reach a higher plane of understanding and reach layer 3.
And yeah, normally in pop culture, when a slutty girl is murdered, we're all a little like, well, maybe she deserved it.
People on layer 3 say that Velma doesn't want to piss off the right or the left. It's not interested in sending any message at all. He just wants to piss off everyone. It's rage bait. It was designed to be hate-watched, posted about, and foster the absolute worst discourse possible. This theory seems like the obvious conclusion to anyone that hated themselves long enough to watch every single episode of this dumpster fire. There are jokes that outright mock the people that watch it, and it seems like it's trying to piss off everyone equally. Don't get me wrong, there are elements of this show that are obviously rage bait. The show clearly hates Scooby-Doo and it hates Scooby-Doo fans, so anything surrounding the original series is going to be relentlessly mocked. The entire character of Fred is supposed to make Scooby-Doo fans mad, turning one of the nicest and coolest Scooby-Doo characters into a sniveling, spoiled baby boy. If I'm being honest though, he's still pretty funny.
Oh, it worked! We're officially popular again. Oh, I can't ever repay you, so I won't.
I respect this theory a lot more than the first two, because honestly this show has been in the center of so many political debates when it really shouldn't be. At least by believing that Velma is rage bait, you acknowledge that it's less concerned with making a statement than it is with making a scene, because that much is obvious if you watch the show. The truth is, when I started thinking about and looking into Velma, I figured that this is where I would end it. Because that's where a lot of the reviews and video essays about Velma and their theories and why it sucks. It's bad on purpose. And when I watched Velma with a group of my friends, every single one of us was convinced that no show could actually be this incompetent, this offensively bad, this awful, without at least being aware of it. How can this show not know that it's this bad? Unless being bad is its goal. And this is where most discussion seems to have died out. Velma's rage bait, end of story. But something about that didn't really seem right to me. There's just something about this show that's so off, so weird, that it just can't be rage bait. It can't be that simple. So I decided to do actual research into the creation of this show. I looked into the woman that plastered herself onto every facet of every episode, Mindy Kaling. And it was what I found that led me to making this video. Because this show is so much more than rage bait. Get comfortable, because things are about to take a turn for the awful. I mean it.
And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I writing these sexy shows about teens?
This is the theory that I've seen from anyone who bothers to look into Mindy Kaling. Because once you delve even for a second into Kaling's past work, you can see that it's not rage bait. That's genuinely how she writes. This is by far the closest theory to the truth, but before I can tell you about why this doesn't really solve the question of why Velma is the way it is, I have to talk about Mindy Kaling from the beginning. I started researching Mindy Kaling because Velma is clearly a self-insert for her in every way. She turned Velma into a chubby, sassy Indian girl, which is exactly who she was in high school. I only honestly started researching her because I wanted to understand which parts of Velma are Mindy and which parts are original, but I couldn't stop. I kept going. I read all 3 of her memoirs to completion, I watched the first 2 seasons of the Mindy Kaling project in full, and I watched the first season of her Netflix series Never Have I Ever, and I watched bits and pieces of episodes from later seasons of all her shows. I didn't watch The Sex Lives of College Girls, however. Like, I can only take so much, give me a break. It was like a train crash that never ended. I genuinely view the world in a more cynical light ever since I did this. But nonetheless, I am now a certified Mindy Kalingologist. So sit down, buckle in, because this is a brief history of Mindy Kaling. And it's the only way to understand Velma. I do want to start with a disclaimer though. I don't like Mindy Kaling. It's really hard to when you've watched and read as much of her work as I have, but I don't want this to be an attack against her. I'm talking about her because as literally anyone can see by watching the show, Velma is Mindy. Completely and utterly. Remember when I said that I researched her to find out which parts of Velma are original and which are Mindy? It's all Mindy. All of it. And since Mindy Kaling is inseparable from this show, and she clearly wants the world to know about her life, I'll just give her what she wants. Mindy Kaling had a rough childhood. In her first memoir, Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me?, she dedicates the first 2 chapters to her weight, and an insecurity of hers that's prevalent throughout all of her shows. She also pronounced jalapeno jalapeno one time when she was a kid, which was just a tragedy. Okay, brief intermission. I'm not sure if that story is supposed to be a joke. This is what she says. I accidentally pronounced jalapeno with a hard J in front of VJ, Hondo, and some other campers. I'd only ever seen it printed on the side of a can of salsa. You think it's jalapeno? Hondo asked, incredulous. I did. And then she just ends the whole chapter. I've excused a lot of the embarrassing or cringy things in this book as just jokes, but this one has me baffled. Let me know what you think. I have genuinely no idea. Is this supposed to be some sort of dramatic ending, showing her struggle, or is this just like a way to end a joke? These memoirs honestly have so much insane stuff in them that if I were to dwell on this, it would take up half the video. But we're not here to talk about jalapenos. The point is, she wasn't cool in high school. Shocker. She mentions in her memoir that she feels bad for all the popular girls that peaked in high school, giving advice to any current unpopular girls in school that, what I've noticed is that almost no one who was a big star in high school was also a big star later in life. For us overlooked kids, it's all so wonderfully fair. Cool. Mindy got her start in show business with a production called Matt and Ben, which depicts its Hollywood golden boys, before J-Lo, before Gwyneth, before Project Greenlight, before Oscar, before anyone actually gave a damn. When the screenplay for Good Will Hunting drops mysteriously from the heavens, the boys realize that they're being tested by a higher power.
Ben, where do you think the script came from?
The hand of God? Where do you think it came from?
I also think God.
Honestly, Matt and Ben was pretty alright, and it was good enough that it helped Mindy land a job writing for The Office, where she wrote some bad episodes and some good ones. But she gave an honestly amazing performance as Kelly Kapoor. It's what she's most known for, and for good reason. It's the best thing she's been a part of.
He has achieved a great deal in the last week.
No achievement is greater than his on-again, off-again girlfriend.
What do you...
Who am I? I'm Kelly Kapoor, the business bitch. It is important to brand yourself, so I have a couple things in the works. The business bitch, the diet bitch, the shopping bitch, the etiquette bitch.
Okay, that's enough background. Let's get into what's important. When The Office ended, she made her very first Mindy Kaling independent project, The Mindy Project. It's a show about a very successful OBGYN named Mindy Lahiri, and her struggle between finding the perfect boyfriend and maintaining her extremely successful career. This show is dog shit. I know it sounded so good from the description, but no, it is complete and utter dog shit. I've tried to maintain a relatively neutral point of view up until now, but I can't do it. Mindy Lahiri is absolutely reprehensible. She's a horrible person, and watching her on screen makes me want to kill myself.
NBA players hang out here all the time.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm gonna be the club where NBA guys are?
Yeah.
This is amazing, because black guys love me.
Keep your racism voice down.
That's not racist. It's a scientific fact that black guys love Indian girls. And black guys also love ass, which I happen to have a lot of, thank you very much. So I'm gonna work my ass all the way to the VIP, if you know what I mean.
She's written this way on purpose, though. Here's what Mindy Kaling has to say about it. I wanted the audience to enjoy my character's bad behavior, but also feel like she had some redeeming quality, which is the sneaky reason I chose to make Mindy Lahiri a doctor. I felt if she did terrible things, but hey, she had this noble job where she was delivering babies and saving lives, people would respect her. This trick always works, by the way. That's why every doctor on TV is a drug addict, a sociopath, or just plain mega rude. Doctors can do whatever they want. As a human being with eyes that watched this show, however, I respectfully disagree that her career single-handedly makes me feel sympathy for her. But the show agrees with me too, because being a doctor isn't the only excuse they give Mindy Lahiri. Every episode, Mindy is justified in some way to act mean towards someone. Usually someone calls her fat, but sometimes they go after other Kaling insecurities, like her career or relationships. This obviously gives Mindy Lahiri free rein to be absolutely reprehensible. Just to give you an idea of what this show about, I'll walk you through the all-time classic episode, Danny Castanello is My Gynecologist. The A-plot focuses on Mindy daring her coworker to be her gynecologist, because he claims he doesn't find her attractive. This escalates until she gets him to perform the gynecology exam and keeps attempting to make it sexual so he will admit he sees her as a woman and not just a coworker. He leaves the room out of sheer discomfort, and everyone claps for Mindy's bravery.
To announce that Danny Castellano was unable to finish my gynecological exam because of his personal feelings for me, which got in the way.
Dr. Castellano, is that true?
I'm not coming in tomorrow.
Danny, you may take the day off, but our friendship endureth.
Taking the week off.
See you, Danny. Nice to know ya. Everyone, we have a winner. Beyonce Pad Thai. Thank you. Thanks so much. It was difficult, but I managed to win in the end.
You're a badass bitch.
Obviously, the show gives Mindy Lahiri some justification for her actions in this episode. There's a scene at the beginning where her boyfriend tries on her pants and they're way too big for him, so you can start feeling bad because of how insecure she is about her weight. And then before the gynecology exam starts, her coworker weighs her and is a huge dick about it to try to encourage her to quit now, before he gets uncomfortable later. This is all so you can start feeling bad because of how insecure she is about her weight. Now Mindy's actions are completely justified. This is just one episode out of the 2 seasons I managed to sit through. And this isn't even a particularly bad episode. It's just your average level quality for the Mindy Project. Try to watch this show if you can. I dare you.
Relax, perverts. Obviously didn't take off my jacket to tittle at you. I'm just not in very good shape and I got overheated.
Are you stripping or not?
I'm not. I just can't stop spinning.
You're a badass bitch.
But we're not done yet. Before we get back to Velma, I have to talk about her most recent show, Never Have I Ever. Never Have I Ever is a 2020 Netflix show that's supposed to be a coming-of-age teen comedy drama. It stars Devi Vishwakumar, who is a nerdy, unpopular girl that's just trying to make it through high school. I don't think I can walk you through a single episode with this one like I did with the Mindy Project. The plot itself is just so unbelievably insane that I don't even know where to start. Wikipedia says that this show is about an Indian American girl dealing with the sudden death of her father. But good God, that couldn't be more wrong. Yes, her father is dead. Yes, she's Indian American. But the show is about her desire to get with the hottest boy in school. In the first episode, she asks him if he wants to have sex with her. He accepts, and then in the next episode, she changes her mind, and he keeps slowly falling for her as a person. Then, she also gets a crush on her rival, who is a cool, nerdy kid, and it becomes a teen love triangle. The whole thing is relatively uninteresting, except for one detail that I have to share, because if I'm not positive about something in this section, I'm going to go insane. Devi's father died during one of her orchestra concerts, and then a week after this, tragedy strikes.
A week later, Davy's legs stopped working. There was no medical reason why.
By the way, I do have to give the show some credit. That narrator is John McEnroe, the tennis player. It's one of the few really funny jokes they have in the series. Anyway, I can't even begin to describe this next part. It's beautiful.
And as it turned out, 3 months after Davy's paralysis set in, Paxton's chiseled face actually worked a miracle.
Come on, dude, give me a turn.
Just like that, she could walk again.
In case you didn't get it, what happened there was she was so horny for this guy that he cured her inability to use her legs and had her stand up from her wheelchair so she could get a better view of him. See, we need more of this and less of this.
I was wondering if you would ever consider having sex with me?
I really don't like being this cynical, but this show is structured exactly like the Mindy Project. They just replaced Mindy's insecurity about her weight with Devi's trauma about her dad's death. For example, in Season 2, Episode 6, Never Have I Ever Ruined Someone's Life, Devi is jealous that her ex-boyfriend Ben, that she cheated on by the way, is hanging out with a girl named Anissa. Throughout the episode, she tries to separate the two but fails. Exasperated by this, she blurts out a lie that Anissa is probably anorexic. Turns out Anissa actually is anorexic, and that's why she left her old school.
What happened?
Apparently everyone's talking about me. They're saying I have an eating disorder.
Really? That's terrible. But hey, it's just a rumor, right? Whoever said that is probably just jealous of you.
Davey, it's not a rumor. It's true. It's the reason I had to leave my last school.
Oh shit, Davy. This is not good.
You're a badass bitch.
It's really, really bad. She spends the next episode pinning the blame on someone else, and although she does end up confessing, it's in the classic Kaling fashion. The apology is considered to be the ultimate form of bravery, instead of the bare minimum thing a human being should do. And of course, during this whole period, we see Devi listen to her dad's old voicemails to calm her down after she's done something absolutely reprehensible.
Davy was far from proud of herself.
Hi, it's Dad. I'm here at the mall to pick you up. I'm parked in front of PF Chang's, but
Okay, that episode sounded really bad, but I do actually have to say that this show as a whole is much better than the Mindy Project. Kaling is way less involved, and the plots that don't revolve Devi herself are actually pretty decent. Devi is awful, though, which is exactly the same problem I have with Velma. Finally, we're back to the actual topic at hand. The Mindy Kaling rabbit hole is weird and deep, and if for some reason you want more than this, then these two videos will do a good job talking about her in a way more respectful manner than I can muster. I'll link them in the description. The whole point of talking about this was to show you just how much Mindy Kaling loves talking about herself. She wrote 3 memoirs all about her life and her opinions in the world. Never Have I Ever is about a first-generation Indian girl learning how to navigate her way through high school, and the Mindy Project is literally called The Mindy Project. And Velma's no different. There's a quote from one of her memoirs that says, "If I can give one bit of advice to any drama major, high school theater kid, or inmate who is reading this in a prison library with dreams of being cast in the prison play, it's this. Write your own part. It's the only way I've gotten anywhere." And good God, could that not be more true. Every single thing she writes stars her, a narcissistic Indian American girl struggling with love and appearance. Every single time. It goes beyond that too. While watching the Mindy Project and Never Have I Ever, I would regularly see jokes that wouldn't be out of place in Velma. And sometimes it's just identical.
Whoa, for the first time in my life, women find me charming. People find me charming.
Everyone have an important announcement? Oh. Wait, none of you are rolling your eyes or making false guesses that would ultimately insult me.
Why would we do that?
If you have an announcement to make, Mike, we would certainly like to hear it.
Holy crap! No wonder men are so desperate to hold onto their power. This is the easiest shit ever. As a guy, I can do anything. So I say, lady, I'll give you the parking spot when you stop being a bitch.
Blows along my way. There's no time to work, it's time to play.
It's the same humor and it's the same show. And I promise you, it's just as infuriating to watch Mindy's other characters, Devi and Mindy, as it is watching Velma. I honestly think it's worth it to watch these shows. Just see for yourself how similar they are. It's surreal to realize that she's been getting away with this kind of humor for over a decade now. And these shows aren't rage bait. They've received nothing but praise by the critical audience, and the amount of people saying that her other shows are bad are being drowned out by the sea of reviews calling it brave and a step in the right direction. Although it seems like people start to lose patience after more than 2 seasons of these shows. Velma is not and cannot be rage bait. It's just another Mindy Kaling show. End of story. Or so I thought.
We had a good thing, you stupid son of a bitch. It was perfect. But no, you just had to blow it up. You and your pride and your ego. You just had to be the man. If you'd done your job, known your place, we'd all be fine right now.
Okay, this is where I start to sound completely insane. The entire video up until now was to get to here. I'm going to come out and say it. I loved watching Velma. Like, a lot. The first time I watched it, I liked it because of pure irony. I watched it weekly with a group of friends as it came out, and we had a great time tearing it to shreds. The second time, though, and all the times after that, when I rewatched Velma for the sake of trying to understand what made it the way it is, when I rewatched Velma after drowning in the endless, haunting abyss that is Mindy Kaling media, I saw something special in it, and I found a sick enjoyment out of that something. You see, Velma is not your average Mindy Kaling show with bad jokes, meta humor, and an unlikable main character. It's more than that. The best way I can describe it is that it feels like Velma, the TV show, is fighting against Mindy Kaling, the producer. The biggest question that most people have while watching any Mindy Kaling show is, why does any character in the show like Mindy's character? In the case of Never Have I Ever and the Mindy Project, the answer is simple. People like Devi and people like Mindy in their respective shows because they're badly written, and the show believes that Mindy or Devi can do no wrong, no matter what. Sure, they can do bad things, but everyone will forget about them because she has trauma, or someone was mean to her, or she made a really sassy quip and everyone laughed.
You're a badass bitch.
Velma's different. The characters in Velma regularly call her out for exactly the reasons people hate her, and yet they still, for no discernible reason, all love her. Let me put it another way. In the Mindy Project, Mindy is almost never called out for anything. In Never Have I Ever, Devi is only called out for doing whatever bad thing she did in that episode, and even then she almost never apologizes. In Velma, Velma is called out for everything. Daphne confronts her about how selfish she is. Norval confronts her about how she does nothing but take advantage of him. The characters actually almost never say anything that hints they like Velma. They never talk about her positively or claim she has a good side, but their actions don't match their words. In the second to last episode, Norval explodes at Velma after she destroys his house, and it's actually full of venom.
I am so sorry about your house, and you should absolutely place the blame where it's due. The police.
I don't care about my house, Velma. I care that you accused my dad of being a serial killer without even telling me.
I know, but I saw the welder's mask and freaked out. And I wanted you to finish the headline about me for the paper. Which, did you? Because I couldn't help but notice you had time for a board game.
This is unbelievable. I put you above everything in my life. but I draw the line at my family. If our situations were reversed, you would have left me for dead after my first hallucination.
But I was worried my mom wouldn't recover her memory. She only has an hour before—
Hey, I don't care! You're a bad friend, and you look terrible in orange.
Norville, please. You say that every time I mistake dwarves and elves.
An elf is a luminous spirit, and a dwarf is a hairy oaf. But most importantly, they are not friends, and neither are we.
Then, in the finale, Velma leaves one voicemail saying she loves him, and he comes running back. You could write this too off as bad and lazy writing, but Mindy Kaling shows aren't usually this logically and blatantly inconsistent. It makes sense when you see it as a group of low-level writers trying to write the best show they can with what they're given. They're told, Velma and Norville have a falling out, and then they get back together. And they say, screw it. Let's make the falling out the ultimate call-out of this awful character we have to write for, and hand-wave them coming back together. At least then you won't come out of it thinking Velma's right. If you were to read the HBO descriptions of episodes, you would think that Velma is this underdog fighting for her life. But if you watch the actual episode, everyone in the show does nothing but talk about how horrible she is. But at the same time, the entire Scooby Gang is in love with her. It makes no sense. This divide between Mindy and the other writers is even clearer when you focus on Velma herself. Mindy famously writes her own parts, so she would pay attention to Velma the most during its production. And it just so happens that the worst and least funny scenes in the show always star Velma. They're kind of rare, but anytime a scene is between two characters that aren't Velma, and Velma is nowhere to be found, the show is genuinely funnier.
Wait, they pulled me out of mosque for you?
Yes, I thought we could continue your therapy.
What? No way. Why would I want to... Whoa, I feel funny. Did they drug our food again?
I'm writing an article for the student newspaper titled, Reasons Someone Might Like Someone Else's Personality. So what do people, see in you?
We have a student newspaper?
It's not going to win any awards, but the show wouldn't have an 8% of Rotten Tomatoes if the entire show were at this level of comedy. It'd just be relatively inoffensive. Even smaller stuff backs up this theory. Almost all of the background visual gags are genuinely pretty funny, and they have clear effort put into them. I think what happened is that Mindy Kaling wanted to make yet another show about an Indian American girl who isn't popular in school, but at the same time is loved by the hottest guy in class and also the nerdy boy, who's called ugly and is a jerk, but also can do no wrong because she's that much of a girl boss. But then Mindy was told by HBO that she could only do it as a Scooby-Doo show. They threw a lot of money and a competent team at her, but she tried her damn hardest to turn Velma into yet another Mindy Kaling pile of trash. And she succeeded. Obviously. But the point is, there's an effort to stop her. And after watching shows that are genuinely so much worse for Mindy, I can see the effort the writers put in. That's when I asked myself the final question. The question that actually led me to making all of this. If Velma is better than Mindy Kaling's other projects, why is it the one with the 8%, while her other shows never go below 70? Which leads me to the claim that I made at the very beginning of this video.
I am going to remind you in advance that I am very sorry and I apologize for the inconvenience of me not giving a fuck!
Mindy Kaling has been doing the exact same thing for her entire career, and she has seen nothing but success. Just last March, Joe Biden awarded her a National Medal of Arts for her work that inspires and delights, capturing and uplifting the experiences of women and girls across our nation. Here's what I think. Mindy didn't get worse. We, as a society, are the ones that changed. Mindy Kaling is popular with Gen X and the early millennial crowd. She has a pretty exclusive target audience and she knows it. At the time of her rise in the industry, her brash, sarcastic girl that don't take no shit character was a breath of fresh air. It wasn't funny, but it was different. But it's been 10 years since the Mindy Project. Representation has gotten better, and people aren't willing to overlook the fact that a comedy show isn't funny just because it's making a statement. Mindy's view of the world is also completely outdated. High school just doesn't work the way it does in Velma and Never Have I Ever. There aren't popular hot girls and ugly nerds. There are just certain friend groups, and everyone does what they're interested in. People have become more accepting overall. Bullying still happens, don't get me wrong, This ironclad class system with different hierarchies of power is just ridiculous. It's so cartoony and childish that Diary of a Wimpy Kid made fun of it in 2007, and that started a middle schooler. The few Velma defenders that exist say that people are salty it's just not the Scooby-Doo they know, and that's why it has such a comically low score. I disagree. If they just didn't stick to the vision of Scooby-Doo that fans had in their mind, and that were the only problem, it wouldn't be at an 8%. At the lowest, I would say it would go to 30. All Scooby-Doo's brand did was expose Mindy Kaling's writing style to a larger audience, to the actual general public, instead of the small group of people that come specifically to watch her shows. There's no hate brigade, it deserves the 8%. The reality is, we just hate it. This kind of show is just not acceptable. It's insulting. HBO shat out the laziest show they could, and for once they got punished for it. And that's why I love Velma. I love Velma because I hate Mindy Kaling, and Velma is proof that society is moving beyond what she represents. We've made progress on a social and cultural level. This kind of humor isn't brave anymore. These kind of characters aren't groundbreaking. It's just lazy writing, and audiences deserve better. Sure, there are still people fighting over the political bait that's rampant throughout this show, but I'm proud to say that so many people see the show for what it is. Awful on a fundamental level. It's a cultural milestone and a work of art, and I'm so glad to see it fail. And I'm even more glad to see the hatred of Mindy Kaling's style in the show itself, in the nuggets of good, in the cries for help that every character seems to have before they return to revolving around Velma. Every aspect of this show feels like it's fighting a virus, and the reaction to it makes it seem like we're finally starting to win. We're obviously getting a season 2, because while Velma isn't rage bait, it did generate enough hate watches to justify making one. And I'm going to watch it, yeah, but I know what I'm going to see. I'm going to see a selfish main character that's insecure about her looks. There's going to be a lazy love triangle that'll make you hate every single character involved. There's going to be a minimum of 5 jokes per episode about how teen dramas usually are. There's going to be a joke that's so gross you'll turn away from the TV. They're going to find a way to piss off every Scooby-Doo fan just for the sake of it. And the show writers are going to try their damn hardest to be funny, despite the leech on their back sucking the life out of them. Oh, and there's going to be a mystery or something. It doesn't change the fact that Velma is the way it is because of the clash between one woman's atrocious writing style that hasn't evolved in a decade and newer, younger writers trying to salvage it. It doesn't change the fact that this show represents a change. This show fed the cringe reaction crowd for a while, but now it's being forgotten, as it should be. It's over. We've moved on. It's not 2010 or 2016 anymore. Society has progressed past the need for Mindy Kaling, and society has progressed past the need for shows like Velma.